Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal, back with another live show. It's Friday, another week is coming to an end. Will Arsenal get the business done that we want? A lot to discuss today, unlike the last couple of days. The latest on the striker situation, you have updates from Gary Jacobs, Andrea Berta's strategy, Mikel Arteta's targets have been confirmed, Zubimendi, Partey, Zaire Emery from PSG. We have a lot to discuss today. When the question is, when are we going to actually get the players? But looks like we're starting to make some moves. So let's get started with this about the striker situation from Gary Jacobs. So this is what is hard to say. Andrea Berta has been in talks to agree deals for Benjamin Sesko and Viktor Gyokeres, but could revive Mikel Arteta's interest in Ollie Watkins from January. No bids have been made yet. Berta brought Gyokeres to the table mainly because he has scored nearly 100 goals over the past 2 seasons in Portugal. That is still so crazy to me, man. 100 goals in 2 seasons, that's so crazy. Those are like Messi and Ronaldo numbers. However, others at Arsenal feel that his valuation of about 80 million is too steep. Some of the Arsenal hierarchy want a younger striker with greater potential to grow, making Sesko more attractive at 22. Wages are not an issue, but one internal view is that his 75 million price tag is too high given his unproven in the Premier League. This is why Watkins has again been considered. Arsenal must hope that Aston Villa reduce their 60 million valuation from January after failing to reach the Champions League. Villa need to sell to boost their own transfer coffers. So let's start with this first. Let's start with the first paragraph. So Berta has been in talks with Benjamin Sesko and Gyokeres. I mean, you already know about that. We've been told about that a few times now. He's been in talks with both of them. That's why we still don't know which one you're going to get between these two. This is the picture we're going to use up until the time we are going to decide who we are going to get. Berta brought Gyokeres to the table mainly because he has scored nearly 100 goals. So this has been confirmed now that Andrea Berta is the one who suggested Gyokeres. But the Arsenal hierarchy have other ideas in terms of getting a striker. So this is why I usually tell you guys whenever we talk about, there's some situations that Berta is going to make the decision. There's some situations where they'll go with Arteta's decision. But I don't usually agree when people say, oh my goodness, what is Berta doing? He should get this deal done. Oh my goodness, what is Arteta thinking? Why is he getting this player? I don't think it's just the two of them who make these deals. As they've written here, Berta suggested Gyokeres. Great. I also wanted Gyokeres at Arsenal since last season. That is perfect. However, others at Arsenal feel that his valuation of 80 million is too steep because of his age. That's not something they've not added there, but it's usually because of his age. That's what we've been told before. Because of his age, they don't feel like 80 million is too good. But we brought Andrea Berta to Arsenal to help us get strikers. So I do feel like if Gyokeres ended up being like 60 million, we'd actually end up getting Gyokeres because of Andreas Berta's previous history with strikers, getting Suarez, getting Griezmann, getting Alvarez and all these guys at Atletico Madrid. Would end up going with this decision because we brought him to Arsenal to get us strikers. I don't think we'd go with the hierarchy or with Arteta if Berta decided like this is the player that he wants. That's why he had opened talks with him. But most of the hierarchy, some of the Arsenal hierarchy want a younger striker. So it's not just one person there. There's a lot of people who get involved in this stuff. Again, Berta and Arteta might make the final decision, but there's a lot of people who decide here. And from what we've been told from the last few seasons, is that Arteta listens to his coaches a lot. Wherever his assistant coaches tell him and whatever the board tell him, he usually listens to them a lot in terms of the gameplay, or in terms of the transfer market. We've had that. I think the first reason David Raya is at Arsenal is because the goalkeeping coach suggested him to Arteta. That is why David Raya is an Arsenal goalkeeper today. I don't think it was an Arteta signing. It was Inaki signing. The goalkeeper coach is the one who brought Raya to Arsenal, not even really Arteta. So he does listen to his coaches. So some of the Arsenal hierarchy want a younger striker with greater potential to grow, making Sesko more attractive at 22. Wages are not an issue. So that is great to know. We've been talking about this whole week. Is wages a problem? Does Gyokeres want something like 300,000? Does Gyokeres want something like 250,000? Are we going to go with the one that is cheaper? But they've said that wages are not an issue, but one internal view is that his 75 million price tag is too high given his unproven in the Premier League. So that is the reason why I've not signed any of these players. I don't think they had not made a decision. I think the hierarchy, including Arteta and the board and Edu when he was here, they had decided to get Sesko. But Berta came in and decided, hey, there's a chance that I can get Gyokeres. Now, we don't know if previously we also wanted Gyokeres, but we felt it was impossible. But now that Berta is here, maybe we felt like, okay, maybe getting Gyokeres is now possible. But the money is the issue. They don't want to spend more than 80 million on one striker. Now, personally, I feel like it is worth it because that is the last missing piece in the puzzle. You have to pay the money to get top players. You're not going to get top players for 30 million. You have to pay the money for them, especially if the wages are not a problem, then the fee becomes very worth it. So I still feel like between Gyokeres and Sesko, we are going to end up getting the one who is a better deal in terms of the money. If Leipzig say, no, we're not going to sell Sesko for anything below 80 million, and Gyokeres ends up being 65, I think we'll end up getting Gyokeres. If Gyokeres ends up being 80, sticks to that, and Sesko becomes 65, 70, we are going to go with Sesko. I still feel like we're going to go with the cheaper one. Now, is that the best way to move in the transfer market? Possibly not. I don't think we should be going for the cheaper one and waiting for the easier one to get and all that. You should be going for the one that you really want. That is what I believe. So hopefully we do end up with the one we really want. But as I say, their 75 million price tag is too high given he's unproven in the Premier League. That is true. Now, the third striker that is in talks. This is why Watkins has again been considered. Arsenal must hope that Aston Villa reduced their 60 million valuation from January after failing to reach the Champions League. Villa need to sell to boost their own transfer coffers. Now, this one is the one thing that will make me mad, as I've told you guys from yesterday. If Partey leaves Arsenal and then we get Bruno Guimaraes, or Partey leaves Arsenal and then we are told Rice is going to play as a 6 and then we are signing Eze or Rodgers, I might be able to handle that a little bit better. But if we end up getting Watkins and not getting Sesko and Gyokeres, that would be a bit of a joke, because that would have, why didn't we sign him in January then? We might as well just have signed him in January, because in January we were still in the Carabao Cup. We were in the semi-final, one game away from Wembley. We were still in the Champions League, and we went all the way to the semi-final. Who knows if Watkins was there, would have been in the final. And in the Premier League, Liverpool are not like, I don't think they were double figures ahead of us. I think if we had beaten West Ham at home, and I think they had Man City and Newcastle that week, we would have been like 5 points behind them that week. That was a possibility. So the season was not like completely over. So if we were going for Watkins at that point, we should just have paid the money for him if we knew we were going to get him at the end of the season. Now, Arsenal might say, hey, we didn't know that Leipzig and Sporting were going to increase the prices of their players. We did not know that. They changed their mind after the season has ended. So we are going to go for Watkins. No, because we were also told that we're not going to go for Watkins. We don't feel like it's worth it because of his age as well. So going back for him, it wouldn't be worth it at all, because we're not going to get Gyokeres, first of all, because of his price and also his age. So Watkins is way older than Gyokeres. So if you ended up getting Watkins, then there's a problem there. Then it means you've been lying to us, because it's not anything to do with age if you go with Watkins. We cannot go with the plan C. This is definitely not the transfer window to go with the plan C. It's plan A. We want plan A. Plan B, because it could be Gyokeres, we can handle it. And most of us want the plan B anyway in Gyokeres. But going for the plan C when, I think Liverpool have now signed 3 players, and Man City have signed their players as well. And Man City have not signed their plan Bs and plan Cs. Liverpool have not signed their plan Bs and Cs. Liverpool wanted Vats, they've gone and they've gotten Vats. They wanted Gyokeres to replace Robertson, they've gone and got Gyokeres to replace Robertson. They wanted Frimpong to go and replace Trent. Frimpong has come in to replace Trent. They did not end up going with a defender from Sunderland or a defender from Atalanta because they couldn't get Frimpong and they couldn't get their second option as well. No. So we are competing with those teams. You have to go with the players that you need. You just simply have to go with the players that you need in your team. And for the striker position, the position that we've wanted a lot, the thing that is missing, you cannot end up with the plan C. Now, Watkins can still score goals. You never know. Watkins has scored a lot of goals in the Premier League, but it would still be very underwhelming, because I would be like, why didn't you get him in January then? Because you wanted him in January, you might as well have paid that money for him at that point. So that is what Guy Jacobs has had to say about the striker situation. Aston Villa themselves wanted like 60 million for Watkins, so that is still a lot of money for him, unless they drop it down to like 25 or 30 million. Now, what I wouldn't mind is if you get, for me, Gyokeres and Watkins, or you get for me both Sesko and Watkins, I'd be happy with that. No problem, because Watkins is not a bad striker. But if it's just Watkins by himself, I'd be disappointed because of what happened in January. But if you get me Sesko, Gyokeres plus Watkins, I will not complain about Watkins at all. In fact, he's an Arsenal fan as well, and he's a very good striker. Bring him for sure. But that is if you've already gotten Sesko and Gyokeres. That's the latest from Gary Jacobs regarding the strikers. He also told us this about Berta's strategy. I think we've talked about this before, but just let's go through what he said. Berta likes to negotiate for several players in the same position at the same time before deciding which move to activate. He sees it as the normal approach. In that sense, Berta contrasts with his predecessor, Edu, who preferred to focus on one single target. So Edu preferred to focus on one single target. Yeah, that is true. If it was Calafiori, it was Calafiori for a full month. If it was Declan Rice, it was Declan Rice for a full month. We'd just go for that particular player up until we caught them. But for Berta, he prefers to go with a lot of different options. Now, I have seen a lot of people who are already mad at Berta. No, I cannot say anything about Berta on 20th of June. I'm going to only say something about Berta regarding the transfer window on September 1st. That's the only time I can say, because this is his first transfer window. I want to see how he does. Maybe he signs 5 players in July before preseason. Well and good. Maybe that is how he works. Maybe he never signs players in June. Maybe he waits until, as long as the players are here before preseason, I have no problem. That is the date I'm waiting for. The time you're going to be playing AC Milan, I'm going to look at the lineup, and if the targets are there, I'm not going to ask why it took so long to sign them. No problem. As long as they're there before preseason, I'm going to give him his time. He's been here for a couple of months. Let's see how he works. As long as he gets his players, but obviously it would be a bit frustrating if we hear Gyokeres has gone to a different team or Sesko goes to a different team. They're still available, so let's see how it works. Maybe they're not going to a different team because they've already talked to Berta. I don't know. Let's see how it goes with him. If that is the strategy, we brought him. He helped Atletico Madrid win 2 trophies there. He's very experienced. Let's see how he does. That's my only opinion on that. Mikel Arteta targets. So Gary Jacob also says Mikel Arteta would like to sign a left winger, a forward, at least one midfielder, a centre-back, and a reserve goalkeeper, ideally before preseason starts. That is what Arteta prefers to do as well. So Berta talks to a lot of different targets, but he still gets his signings done in time. And for Arteta, he wants those signings in before preseason. No problem. We have 1 month before preseason. If you can get it done before then, well done. If you can actually get all of these targets before that time, I'll actually hold my hands up and I'll clap for them. I'll tell them, wonderful. You've managed to get a striker, what we needed. You've managed to get a left winger, what you've needed. Obviously, we need a reserve goalkeeper for sure. I do also think we need a defender because of the injuries and because of a couple of players leaving, but the centre-back would be my last signing. A midfielder, I think that is Zubimendi there. And I still think there's something missing there, though. If we are getting a left winger, a forward, at least one midfielder, centre-back, and a reserve goalkeeper, I still think there's something missing there, though. I still think you need another extra attacking midfielder or a backup for Saka. That is what I feel like. Even now, at that point, when you end up getting Sterling on loan as the final signing and you've not signed anyone else, it becomes a problem. But if you've already signed the Gyokeres and you've already signed Rodrygo, and doesn't have to be Rodrygo, it can be Lookman, anyone else, you've already got in those 2 positions, and you've brought in Zubimendi, and you've brought in Kepa as the backup goalkeeper, and you've brought in a good centre-back. At that point, you can be like, okay, if we don't have enough budget, you can go for 10 million, 15 million player to back up Saka. No problem. I'll not complain about that. You can go for a loan player for 10 million. I'll not complain about that. Especially if you already have the other signings in place, no problem. But the problem usually is if you go and you spend 10 million or you get Sterling on loan for free at the end of the season, at the end of the transfer window after you've not signed anyone else, that is where it becomes a problem. But if you're to bring for me all of these players and then you signed Sane at the end of the transfer window, if you're still available, I'd not complain at all. That will mean you've added quality, but we've also added in terms of quantity, and we're not depending on that particular player who's coming in. No problem. So that is what Mikel Arteta wants. Those are 5 players. Let's see if you're going to end up getting a 6th one as well. I think if Partey leaves, there could be a 6th one. I think it kind of depends on whether Partey leaves. If Partey stays, I think they're not going to go for the 6th player. But hopefully we do have those 5 players. Hopefully, man, I'm really praying hard, man. I'm hoping we don't get to August 31st and we only have a backup goalkeeper and a centre back only, and we've not signed a forward yet. And I'm really hoping that is not the case this time. That is now when it's going to be disastrous completely. But that is what Mikel Arteta wants. Let's go to this as well. Arsenal are not panicking in the transfer market as their targets are on holiday until next month. I saw someone yesterday writing, why is it always Arsenal targets who are always on holiday? Why no one else who is on holiday? Why is it that Gyokeres and Vats and Shaki are not on holiday and all these Arsenal targets are always on holiday? Hey, as long as they get the players before preseason, no problem. No club wants to pay wages for new players sitting on the beach. Arsenal are expected to accelerate deals around the turn of the month. Well and good. As long as you have the players here before preseason, no problem. But yeah, Arsenal are not panicking in the transfer market. I'm not panicking yet as well. But when you get to July, maybe I'll start panicking. But because these players are still there available and all that, and there's still talks, and the likes of David Ornstein and Fabrizio have said we are going for these players, I am going to stay calm for now. But if we get to closer to prison and we've not signed anyone and we've only signed a backup goalkeeper, then we'll be thinking, okay, what is going on? Is it a budget that you don't have? Is it that we are penny pinching and you don't want to use the money to spend the money to get these players that we want? Because we are not far away, man. We were 2 points behind Man's 2 points, right? 2 or 1. Why am I forgetting? Yeah, we were so close to Man City. Yeah, it seems like I've already forgotten those seasons, man. It was too damaging for our hearts. So I'd like to leave those seasons behind. But yeah, we were so close to Man City. Last season, we were not. The previous season, I think we were like 5 points behind Man City. So close as well. So we are so close. We still have very good players in this team. As I told you guys yesterday, even if Arsenal did not sign anyone for the next 2 years, we'd still be in the top 3 because Arsenal still has Rice, still have Saka, still have Saliba, still have Gabriel. They're still very, very good players there. But to win the trophy and to go far in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup and try and reach the final of the Champions League, one step closer again, you have to get the positions that we want. And that is a striker. You need to keep on improving on the position that you don't have. By the way, 2 seasons ago, after we competed for the first time against Man City, at the end of that season, I did not want a striker. I was like, this is fantastic. Odegaard is scoring goals. Jesus has come in, is scoring goals. Saka has been brilliant. Martinelli has scored 15 goals in a season. He's gotten assists as well. We've signed Trossard. He's gotten 10 assists in like 4 months. I was so happy. At the end of the 2023 season, I was like, we don't need a striker. Go and get who do I think I wanted a fullback, I think, at that point, and I think also wanted like a backup for Saka. We've wanted a backup for Saka for such a long time, and I think also wanted like an extra midfielder or something that season. But obviously, Jacques ended up leaving, and he got Rice, and I still think the Rice and the Rice, that transfer window for Rice wasn't too bad because we got Rice for 100 million plus. But at the end of that season, I said at the end of finishing a point behind Man City, I said our team is very good. The only thing that we need to improve now is to get a striker. You have to keep on going because if you get a defender and you look at your rest of the squad and it's good and you're still 2 points behind Man City, you have to keep on improving. Maybe you upgrade on Martinelli. If you go again and you reach 90 points and you finish 1 point behind Man City again, you have to look at the next position. Maybe at that point it's improving on Partey. If you go again and this time you're missing goals, you keep on improving. You add another backup for Saka. You add a striker. You cannot give up, and you don't want to finish this period, this 2, 3, 4, 5 years without any trophy, because Arsenal have been good for the last 3 seasons, better than what we've been for the last 15 years. We are hoping by the time we come out of this this particular segment of players and managers and all that, we have a few trophies to show for before our next rebuild. That is what we are hoping for. So you have to keep on improving the team. You can't just settle and say, okay, let's just go again. No, you have to keep on improving. If we get a striker and we still don't win the league and still finish 1 point behind the winner, 2 points behind the winner, maybe the next thing to do is to get another strike on top of that, get 2 strikers. Maybe at that point, if you have a bad season, maybe the next thing to do after that is to get a new manager. Anything can happen. So you have to keep on improving the team. So if you've gotten everything and the team is looking good at that point, it could be next season. If you have everyone in order, everything in order, and Gyokeres is there and Rodrygo is there, and we still don't play good football and all that, then you can talk to me about changing. It's absolutely no problem. You have to keep on improving the team. And if that's the only thing that is remaining that you haven't changed and you've changed everything else, then you have to change that as well. And if it doesn't work, you change the assistant manager as well. If it doesn't work, maybe change the owners. You keep on improving the team. Next up, let's talk about Zubimendi. So David Ornstein has an update on Zubimendi. He says Martin Zubimendi is in London to meet Arsenal officials and complete formalities of transfer to Emirates Stadium. 26-year-old Spain international midfielder joins from Real Sociedad in deal long since regarded at Arsenal as done plus signed. So this one, nothing to panic about. Zubimendi is in England to complete his Arsenal deal. We might end up getting him before that July. But yeah, we've never panicked with this one. We've always known Zubimendi is going to be an Arsenal player. I think I even included him on the thumbnail for the fixture release. I was so confident he was going to be an Arsenal player. Now the question will he be a replacement for Jorginho, or will he be a replacement for Partey, or will he be playing next to Partey? We still have to wait for that. But this is what David Ornstein has had to say about this. Martin Zubimendi is in London to meet Arsenal officials and complete the formalities of his transfer. Arsenal have been working for a considerable time on a deal for the Spain international, who was they've put all three currencies here. Fantastic. Thank you, David Ornstein of The Athletic. We don't have to convert for ourselves. So they've said 60 million euros, 51.7 million pounds, $63.4 million. Fantastic. Thank you for doing that mathematics for us. Real quick, release clause in his contract with Sociedad. So you're going to have to, who has a 51.7 million release clause, but you're going to have to pay, that 60 million euros, the same. The Premier League club's pursuit of Zubimendi has been driven by the head coach Mikel Arteta and was reinvigorated. My goodness, man, some words are so tough to say on a normal Friday, when the clubs were in talks over a deal for Mikel Merino to move to the Emirates last summer. So we actually wanted Zubimendi last summer, for sure, for real. I don't know if it was going to be next to Merino or instead of Merino. As reported by The Athletic, earlier this month, Real Madrid admired Zubimendi but decided not to pursue a move for the player this summer, while Arsenal have regarded the deal as done despite noise around a potential move to Xabi Alonso's side. In January, The Athletic reported Arsenal's plans for a summer bid for Zubimendi, who Liverpool had attempted to sign last summer, only for the Spaniard to remain in San Sebastian for the remainder of the campaign. Arteta's side, who reached the Champions League semi-final this season and finished second in the Premier League, have struggled with injuries, particularly up front, and so an attacking signing in the summer is a priority. However, signing a midfielder such as Zubimendi is also important due to the departure of Jorginho to Flamengo and Thomas Partey's expiring contract. Talks have been held over a new deal for Partey. Zubimendi scored 2 goals and provided 2 assists in 36 La Liga appearances last season as they finished 11th. Zubimendi's job at us will not be to score goals, but that's great. He chipped in with 4 goal contributions. I think Partey scored a few goals last season, a few crucial ones actually, against the one against Man City, I think a couple of others. But yeah, will we see this partnership next season? We're going to talk about Partey next. But yeah, Zubimendi is in England. At least we've made a move for someone. At least someone is in London to begin with. That's a good thing. That's a positive. Someone is in London to sign for Arsenal. People are not on holidays. Someone is in London. That is already a move for Arsenal. Someone is in London to sign for us. That is great. So I think it's very soon you're going to be saying welcome to Arsenal Zubimendi. And 26 years of age is pretty good as well. That is is not yet in his prime. Another couple of years to get to his prime. So that is absolutely fantastic. Zubimendi signing will be fantastic. So question is, will he be playing next to Thomas Partey or not? So let's talk about Thomas Partey. ESPN said that Thomas Partey is set to leave Arsenal, as a source has told ESPN. The Ghana midfielder, whose contract expires in January, is not expected to resign with Mikel Arteta's side. So every day as time passes, it is starting to look like he is going to leave. So I hope they have a plan. I'm still 50-50. I'm still thinking there's a 50% chance he's going to stay, but there's still a 50% chance he could leave, depending on the wages and whether Partey wants to stay or whether Arsenal want to give him more money. We just have to wait and see. But as of now, we have 10 days to make that choice. So in the next 10 days, we will know if Partey will be an Arsenal player or he won't, or maybe even in the next couple of days. If we start getting linked to other midfielders and start approaching other midfielders, then we're going to know that Partey is not going to be at Arsenal next season. But there's still a slight chance that he might still be there. I think if Partey agrees to signing that contract that is on the table, Arsenal are going to let him stay. If the money is not as much as Partey wants, he's going to end up staying. But I think if you lose Partey, I hope you really have a plan. You either have to replace him in that position, Or if you decide to play Declan Rice as a number 6, you have to get a really good attacking midfielder there to play next to Odegaard. I hope we have a plan. I really, really hope we have a plan. I don't want us to get ourselves in a position where, again, we are stranded next season. We've sorted out our striker position, and this time our midfield is bad. We don't want that to happen. No, let's have a full team for once. Let's compete as much as we can, man. Let's not leave any gaps in our team, please. Let's not sort out the left wing and then this time we don't have a good midfielder. Let's not do that. But we are already linked to other midfielders. So could this be one of the replacements for Thomas Partey? That is the question. His name is Zaire Emery from PSG. I've been watching him for 2 seasons now. Last season he didn't play that much because they have Joao Neves and Vitinha in that midfield. But the previous season he was playing a lot. Arsenal have made an inquiry to PSG regarding the availability of Warren Zaire Emery, but the Champions League winners have no interest in allowing the Frenchman to leave. So we have made an inquiry according to Graham Bailey. So is this showing us that we're already making moves to replace Partey, or what is it showing us? So he's a very good player, young player though, very, very young player. I think right now he's like 19. Let me just confirm that. I don't want to do some guesswork. Let's see. 2006. Yeah, he's 19. So I was right with that. He's 19 years of age. Zaire Emery. So the only concern with this would be PSG have very, very good players in that team, as we've seen last season. Although yesterday morning, I watched them losing to Botafogo, but they still have a very, very good team. Very, very good team. Especially the midfielders as well. Vitinha, Emery, Joao Neves. We were linked to Joao Neves last season before he joined them from Benfica, and players like Fabian Ruiz, all very, very good players. Now, would Zaire Emery be the kind of player to replace Thomas Partey, or are we looking at Zubimendi as the person to replace Thomas Partey, and then we're looking at Zaire Emery to replace Jorginho to be on the bench to come on? Again, if you're going to replace Partey, it has to work. It has to work. It just has to work because you cannot leave that midfield. There's a lot of experience there. Partey is not that quick like he used to be 5 years ago. I know that. I know there's always the risk that Partey can get injured again. I definitely know that. Some people are saying Partey could be like Aubameyang. He might sign a new contract and then he becomes terrible like Aubameyang. That could also be true, but it can also be that Partey signs a new contract and then he also has a very good season like he had this past campaign. It can go either of the two ways. It doesn't have to be one way. So if Zubimendi is the one if you have Zubimendi and Zaire Emery as your midfielders, then you're going to need a lot of adaptation there. They have to adapt really quickly because one is very young and is coming from France, and the other one has never played in England before, and we're still waiting to see whether he's going to adapt to the physicality of the Premier League. So, and we've also been linked to a midfielder from Sevilla, and there's been a couple of other names coming up. So let's see if that is the case. If Partey leaves, and we've been told that it's wants 5 players, then that will mean we'll need 6 players. Unless they have other plans. I don't think you can let Partey and Jorginho go and then you just get one midfielder. I don't think that is the case. You either get 2 defensive midfielders or you get a defensive midfielder and an attacking midfielder. And then if your plan is to move Declan Rice to a number 6 position, well and good. I also don't want Declan Rice to just play the number 6 position too many times. It's very good going forward. Declan Rice is quite good. We've seen his goals and assists as well. I want him to play both positions throughout the season. So yeah, Zaire Emery is the latest link, and Arsenal have made an inquiry according to Graham Bailey. So we wait to see what Thomas Partey's future holds. Zubimendi is in London, so that is good news, and Zaire Emery might be a replacement for Thomas Partey. Next up, another midfielder Arsenal have been linked to. That is Khannouss. We talked about him back when the transfer window was starting. Arsenal are currently the club that is closest to signing Bilal El Khannouss, and they have already agreed personal terms with the player's agent. Arsenal must now reach an agreement with Leicester City on a fee. So it's another player who plays that midfield position a bit more attacking. So if you have someone like El Khannouss to complement Odegaard and Nwaneri, and to complement someone else in the number 8 position, if you're still playing Rice there, no problem. What I want next season is flexibility. A lot of you have different issues with Mikel Arteta. For me, that could be the main one from last season. The flexibility. I want us to be flexible. I do not like when you take out Calafiori and bring in Lewis Kelly, and we take out Timber and you bring in White, and we take out Partey and you bring in Jorginho and you take out Martinelli and you bring on Trossard, no matter the result. If you're 3-0 up, you can do that. If you're 3-0 up, you can do that. You can go like for like. You can rest Timber, you bring in Ben White, rest Saliba, you bring in Kivior, no problem. But the problem is we usually make those same exact subs, whether we are 2-1 down, whether we are 3-0 down, whether we are leading 2-0, we just make the same subs. It cannot be that way because every single game is different. You have to approach the game differently. If we are 2-1 down against Man United in the opening game of the season and Sesko is playing up front, I don't want us to take off Sesko and bring on Havertz, take off Saka and bring on Trossard. I don't want that to be the case. You have to approach the game differently. You can take off Ben White at right back and then you add someone else up front to be next to Sesko, whether it's Berino, Havertz, or whoever. You can bring on Trossard to have a front five players up front instead of 4. You can do that. You can change the formation. Khannouss can help you do something like that. You can take off a defensive midfielder. You can take off a defender. You can add an extra midfielder who's going to attack like Khannouss, and then all of a sudden you have Saka, you have Gyokeres, you have let's say Trossard, you also have Odegaard, and you also have Khannouss on the pitch, 5 attacking players. It doesn't have to be those exact names. It can be Martinelli if he's here. It can be Havertz if he's playing up front next to Sesko. It can be Merino if he's the one who's coming off the bench. It can be Nwaneri. It can be any of them, but you get the point. I want us to be flexible, take off a defensive player, bring in an attacking player if you need a goal. Let's just not always go like for like. So someone like Khannouss is not going to be a starter for Arsenal, but as extra bench quality, I wouldn't mind it. And also depends on the money, though. If it's like 15 to 20 million, I don't know if it's going to be that cheap, I wouldn't mind it. As a backup player, no problem. If it's like 40, 50, then that's a different case. You can't spend that kind of money on him. But he has been in the Premier League last season, so let's see how it goes with Khannouss. As a backup player, I'd be okay with that. Next up, Jorrel, Hato. I'll come to your comments. Arsenal have held fresh talks with Jorrel, Hato's representatives. Arsenal want to speed up the process to beat Chelsea to the signing. So we are linked to Jorrel, Hato once again. Another, again, I think we need a defender for sure, but it doesn't have to be now. It can be later on in the transfer window. If I don't know when Gabriel is coming back. I think he was on a podcast and he said he expects to be back for preseason. That's good. So if Gabriel is fully fit when he comes back and Timber is fully fit, I think we really overplayed Timber last season. I don't think we can afford to overplay him next season as well. Zinchenko might leave. He's been linked to AC Milan. Kivior, I do not want Kivior to go at all, because if you let Kivior, I already want us to get a defender. So if you let go of Zinchenko and Kivior, does that mean you also need 2 defenders again? No, we cannot be going for another 2 defenders. I think you have to keep Kivior, unless someone is coming to give us 50 million. Speaking of Kivior, by the way, let me just say, Liverpool are about to sell Kwanza for 40 million euros. Kwanza, the bench guy who comes on, and I think even scored an own goal against Chelsea at the end of the season. That Kwanza, they're going to sell him for 40 million euros. I know he's young, but Kivior is also not old. Kivior is very young and he's an international player. If Liverpool are selling Kwanza for 40 million, Kivior is 50 million plus. I'm not joking. If Liverpool are able to sell Kwanza for 40 million and we hear about Man City selling a backup goalkeeper for like 30 million, 40 million, we have to, that is another position where I'm looking at Berta and telling him, listen, please help us in this selling of players. We cannot be letting go of players like Kivior for 20 million. I saw people saying just sell him for 15 million. No, Kivior is a player who can play left back, left centre back, right centre back. An experienced player. We've now seen him playing against teams like PSG and Real Madrid and Bayern Munich in the Champions League. He's a player who always starts for Poland, no matter what. Even if he sits on the bench for Arsenal for 3 months, the next international break he's playing for Poland as a starter. There's a reason why he plays. Then Poland is not a country that does not have enough footballers. They do have enough footballers. They can bench Kivior and play someone else. So if Liverpool are able to get 40 million for Kwanza, we should be. If you have to sell Kivior, it has to be 50 million plus. I don't care. If we don't get anything like that, keep Kivior in the team. He's a player who's always fit. He's a player who's always available. He's a player you can always depend on. You can have him in a back 3. You can have him in a back 4. You can have him replacing Gabriel if you need to rest him. Rest Saliba, and you can have Kivior there. That's fine. If every one of those players is fit, if Calafiori is fit and Ben White is fit next season, I think we'll only need like 1 defender to come in if you're selling Zinchenko, because Tierney has also left. but doesn't have to be right now. That can be very late. That one I'm even okay with it if it happens in August or something, no problem. And the backup defender. But it looks like Arsenal are going to rush with it because Chelsea also want him. And it's also Arsenal. Don't be surprised if a defender is the first signing. That could also be the case. Next up, Nico Williams. Let's talk about Nico Williams for the final time because we've gotten an update on him. It has become clear Arsenal will not be signing long-term target Nico Williams, who has agreed a contract with Barcelona worth about 300,000 a week before tax. His wage demands were too high for Arsenal, even though the 15 million release clause was manageable. So, yeah, I don't even think the 300,000 a week was the main issue here. I don't think Nico Williams wants to come to England. I think Nico Williams has always wanted to go to Barcelona. I think that has always been the case. If Barcelona failed, I think even I saw Bayern Munich really want him and they're still struggling to get him because this is a player who wants to go to Barcelona. So unless Barcelona cannot get him, if he had decided to come to England and said, okay, listen, I definitely want to come to England, then we could have said maybe the wages are an issue. But again, if you're going to improve your positions, the left wing and the striker, you're going to have to pay money. I don't think you can. You can also get a 150,000 per week player and it works out for you, no problem. I don't think Lookman will ask for that much, maybe 180 to 200 around that, and he can come and do this better job than what Nico Williams would have done. So they're saying the 51 million release clause was manageable. So which means there's money there. If you're being told that 51 million was manageable and we had some money to try and get Watkins in January and we were willing to get Dean Howson from Bournemouth before he went to Real Madrid. So that means we have some money there that we want to spend. Let's hope we can get the players that we want. A striker and Rodrygo as left winger, I'd be very, very happy with that. So I'm hoping you don't get any more updates on Nico Williams. I know he's not going to join Arsenal, but that is what I just went through. Everything that Gary Jacobs has had to say today. We had a lot to talk about today, 10 different topics. Yesterday, we only had like 2. So today, there's a lot of updates from Gary Jacobs, Graham Bailey, and a couple of others as well. So let me come to you guys' comments and see what you're saying. Wow, we've talked about a lot, man. Let me drink something, by the way. I always forget to drink something. You know, when you're doing shows, sometimes you actually forget to drink. Let me see. Let's go. Okay, let's go to the first comments. How are you doing, RK? Thank you for always being here. Are we buying the 2 strikers? Nah, I don't expect us to buy 2 strikers. 1. I would like 2. If Watkins is the second striker, I don't mind. If you can get 2 of those players, I'd be very happy. But I think you're going to get 1. Zubimendi to Arsenal. Yep. Kolapo, that is definitely happening. Good afternoon to you, Anu. Idris says you should get both of them. We need this guy, says Limbani. Up the Gunners, I really like what this man is doing at Arsenal for now. Let's buy 2 strikers. Thank you, Baki. Anu says they don't want to hear Watkins' link with Arsenal again. We should be moving on from that news. I think we're going to end up getting Sesko Gyokeres, but no pun intended. But you never know with Arsenal. Gyokeres is an already refined striker to hit the ground running, says Jata. Although Benjamin Sesko is a developing striker at 22, he's for the future, though. Arsenal is honestly wasting time without being decisive in the market. Amar says Arsenal behave in the market brings you to think that there are only time there since Wenger transfer, no change. Since the Wenger days, no change. Same data that is not good, and you'll see at the end when they're panicking. Hopefully not, because they've told us right now they're not panicking. Yeah, the Wenger days, I also felt like we let him down a lot of times, man. We were so close to winning the title in 2008 again, and 2009. I think we only bought Arshavin in that January. I think at that time we had problems with the stadium, though, but trying to pay for the stadium. But yeah, we've not done enough in very many transfer windows. I don't like this waiting game we are playing in the transfer. Jordan says that after this, we want Partey to stay, and also we need Viktor Gyokeres or Sesko, says Jordan. Yes, he's in England. Kikumbi. If Arsenal don't spend up to 70 million euros to 80 million euros for a striker, it means they are not ready to buy a striker, says Ado. if I say the only way I can excuse this is if they negotiate it and they get it done, and then the rest of the money they go and spend it on Rodrygo, and then they tell us, okay, you see, we needed to spend less on our striker so that you can get Rodrygo for 80, 90 million. I'd be like, okay, if you had a plan, but it has to be one or the two of them, or either Sesko or Gyokeres. It can't be another option for me. Better Martinelli, Trossard than Watkins. No. Says no. I don't agree with Watkins being a flop. Watkins is not a flop. Watkins is a very, very good Premier League striker. We do not want him because we want Gyokeres and Sesko, and because we were linked to him in January and didn't get him, and also because Watkins is above 30. But Watkins is not a flop. Watkins is a very good striker. He's you only just need to watch the games he plays against Arsenal. He always scores against us. That's why I'm not giving him play. Last season, I think they had Duran, who was slightly better. But I don't think he's a bad striker. He's still a very good. I think in the Premier League, if you're to rate the top 3 strikers, you'd have Isaac, Haaland. I think I'd have Watkins in that top 3. Glenn, us are not proactive in transfer. I'm afraid you get all the players. Says Anu, how are you, Niall? Nice seeing you. Good afternoon. Kikombi says 90 million for Gyokeres. I think it's a better price because that guy can lead us to what we have lacked for a long time. Yeah, for us fans, we want that. As for us fans, we're looking at it like that. You know that Gyokeres is coming to do the job. But I think the club itself, they look at it like, okay, this guy's 27. If he spend 90 million, what about if he's not good enough in the next 2 years? Have we just wasted 90 million? I don't think it's going to be a waste. That's the thing. I'm not thinking like that. I'm not thinking Watkins will come to Arsenal, and I'm not Watkins. Goodness me. Arsenal have started making me think about Watkins. This is what Arsenal do to you. They make you start saying Watkins out of the blue. Gyokeres. So Gyokeres is a player, I think, if he starts scoring goals like this right away. Musa, how are you? Nice seeing you as always. He says, if Partey leaves, then we'll be compelled to sign another number 6. I think so, unless they have a different plan. I think their plan could also be bringing back Rice to the number 6 and signing an attacking midfielder. Hopefully, don't leave ourselves short, though. I don't want to have to play Declan Rice in the Carabao Cup because we don't have anyone else on the bench, which is going to cost us anyway. So why don't we use a portion of that money to increase Partey's wage bill rather than going all out to look for another number 6, which is not going to be easy. Ivan, how are you? He says, hi, bro. How are these deals? We are tired of hearing this. Yeah, I know it's a bit tiring, but I'm still not panicking. I'm still going to give them as long as they have the players here before preseason. Michael says, Arsenal, are they signing on to Arsenal? Linked to all the players in it to one is not one is in. So you're being linked to all the players, but not you've not signed anyone. Adamu says also we never signed in June, from my understanding. Yeah, I think we got. I remember the Calafiori ones and the Rice ones. Those ones carried all the way to July for sure. Who did we sign in June? I think. Was it Jesus? I think Jesus. We had Jesus, Zinchenko, Fabio Vieira in before preseason. I think we signed Fabio Vieira in June or something. But yeah, we rarely sign players in June. I've had that actually in a lot of transfer windows. We rarely sign players in June. If you look at all the last 20 transfer windows or the last 20 years, we rarely sign players in June. You always wait for July. But that was always a problem I had during the Wenger days. I always go back to 2012, 2011, when we lost 8-2 to Man United. That's when we went to buy Arteta on the final day, buy Benayoun on the final day, buy Santos, buy Park Chu-young, buy Matasaka. We bought 5 players in one day. So Arsenal is so funny, man. That was 2011. It's still the same now. Arsenal told us that point we couldn't sign anyone, and then we lost 8-2 to Man United, and then we signed 5 players in one day, which means Arsenal can sign players if they want. That is what that made you believe. Arsenal is not panicking, but fans are panicking and they're not enjoying the way things are going. Yep, the fans are definitely panicking. Hello, we are ready to wait. We know surely you cannot drive us. Something must come. I'd like to believe that as well, James. In my head, I'm telling myself, surely they're not going to finish without signing anyone. We had a terrible Premier League season last time. The Premier League season was not great at all. So RK says, please subscribe and smash the like button. Yep. Thank you guys, by the way, for being here. All there's 80 of you on Facebook right now and 80 of you on YouTube right now. If you're enjoying the show every single day, on weekdays. Make sure to hit the like button to support the channel. If there's any news during the weekends, we'll also be going live wherever time, whether it's 12 a.m., whether it's 6 a.m., whether it's 9 p.m., wherever. Hopefully, when you start getting news, you can go live even twice a day when there's a lot to talk about. Suleiman says, good evening, Glenn. Let's pray Arsenal board know the difference from making money and winning trophies. Kikumbi says Rice is not good defense. Nah, Kikumbi. No, surely not. He did not say that. He did not just say that. No, personally for me, I think Declan Rice, for me, I actually usually don't mind if he plays as a 6 or an 8, because I think Rice is very good going forward, and I think Rice is very good defensively. If you remove Rice from that Arsenal team for a month, we would really struggle, both attacking-wise and defensive-wise, unless we sign players up front. Rice is very good defensively. I think he's like in the top 2 best defensive midfielders. He's the best defensive midfielder in the league for me, and he plays as a number 8. No, Rice, when it comes to things like interceptions, if we just watch Declan Rice interceptions, how many times he prevents us stops the opponents from counter-attacking us, he's the best in our team in doing that. In terms of tackles and all that, if you just watch, I don't know, I guess everyone watches football differently. Some people watch his attacking play, some people focus on his defensive play. But because I usually try to rewatch the game, sometimes last season I struggled to watch games, but the previous season, when you were scoring 4 or 5 goals and you're rewatching the game 3 or 4 times, you'd notice Declan Rice was very good, man. Even defense, if you just focus on Declan Rice by himself, even if there's a reason why last season and the previous season, there's a reason why we always give Declan Rice 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, even if he doesn't score assist, because he's very good defensively and stopping things and clearing the ball off the line and carrying the ball forward for us. No, Declan Rice is very good defensively, but good in attacking and scoring goals. He's very good at that as well. I'd like to think Declan Rice is very good in both of them. Declan Rice plays as a number 8, but he's still the best defensive midfield in the league. That is my opinion. Good evening, sir. I believe Arsenal is going to sign good players and do well next season. Hopefully, a Bobo. Fred says Nuss of Leipzig will do the job. We've been linked to him. Sambo says saw no player to replace Partey. We've seen a couple of links, so let's see how that one will go. Arsenal releases players and yet they are reluctant to sign players. I see Arsenal not even reaching top 5. The first part is definitely concerning. I did not like the way we let go of Nketiah and Fabio Vieira and Smith Rowe and Nelson, and then we didn't sign any replacement. I still think that was absolutely crazy doing that. For Arsenal not finishing in the top 5, no. That one I've always said no since last season. I've said even if Arsenal don't sign anyone at all, we'd still finish in the top 4. But that is not what we are trying to do. We're not trying to finish in the top 4. We're trying to win trophies, so we need signings. But the Arsenal team, you're not going to finish outside the top 5 when you still have Saliba, Gabriel, and Declan Rice and these other players as well. They're still going to do the job for you. We are still probably going to have the best defense next season, but the problem is up front. That is where the problem is. If you don't sign anyone at all, we are still going to have like 15 draws next season and all that. That's the problem. The V says, Glenn, I think it's Davey. Glenn, I think Arsenal should keep Partey because Zubimendi first has to learn from him for him to adapt to the Premier League. That's what I thought as well. Always we are going to sign up till now. What is going on, says Anjalo. Just get Gyokeres done. At least he wants to come, says Ruthless. Yeah, that's the other thing. Gyokeres has said he wants to join Arsenal. I think yesterday we were told that Gyokeres has already talked to his family and told them he's expecting to join Arsenal. So when you start hearing stuff like that, you're like, okay, is something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about? Ruthless also says, is Baleba possible? Depends if Brighton wants to sell him. That is a player usually ends up at Chelsea. Those kind of players from Brighton usually end up at Chelsea. But Baleba as an extra option in midfield, that would be great because he already has the Premier League experience. And every time I've watched him, he's looked very, very good, very solid in that midfield, tough tackler. I believe Arsenal will sign. If Arsenal doesn't sign, Gyokeres will really hurt the player, Gyokeres, and he'll have bad blood for Arsenal. Imagine if he joins Man United and we're playing them in the first game of the season. He might score a hat-trick if he's happier, then he might score a hat-trick against us, and that would be painful. Rocker says Arsenal is delaying to sign, so they miss out on big names. Hopefully not this time around. Hopefully that is why we've brought Andrea Berta. Colapo says, hi, bro, Arsenal need to buy players so that they can train other players so they can play as a team and have teamwork. Yeah, before preseason, we need the players there before preseason. Our preseason is not easy as well. We are playing AC Milan, Tottenham, Newcastle. I know why they do that these days. They do that because of money. I know that. But I kind of miss the old days where you'd play Celtic in Scotland, and then you play Marseille in France, and then you go and you play 2 Emirates Cup games. They need to bring that back as well, by the way. I missed the Emirates Cup games Saturday and Sunday. We used to play, I'm sure most of you remember, we used to play Saturday and Sunday Emirates Cup with 2 different teams, and then there would be a table. I will bring back those days, and then also have one tough team. I also don't like this playing Tottenham in Newcastle in preseason. That doesn't seem like preseason, man. But maybe playing those games will help us know where we are at that point. Sesko is requesting an exit clause. That means his mind is not with us. We should just leave him. And says Lua, I saw that he wants, I think he's also thinking about his own future. All those players usually think about their future as well, and how they can gain from all of this as well. He doesn't owe Arsenal anything, you know. Yes, he can join us, but he also is also thinking about his future. He's already thinking about, okay, what happens the time that I need to leave Arsenal or whatever. Anthony Gordon, good afternoon. Anthony Gordon from Sierra Leone. I don't want Partey to leave Arsenal this season. Benjamin says, Glenn, it seems I'm the only patient Arsenal fan right now in the world. No, you're not the only one, but yeah, there's a lot of there's very few who are patient. I do understand. So I can't come on. I'm not panicking. But that's why I don't tell people who are panicking, like, why are you panicking? Just be patient. I can't tell people that because I know why people are panicking. I think last season has really hurt people a lot. Seeing Liverpool winning the trophy and seeing Chelsea and seeing Tottenham all winning trophies, that has really hurt a lot of Arsenal fans. And the fact that people are seeing Liverpool buying players and Man City buying players, I know it can hurt. I'm still hoping that since we've seen what has happened last season and the kind of players these other teams are buying, I'm hoping they do have a plan for the transfer window, hopefully. So yeah, I appreciate you being patient. Hopefully they repay your patience. Hopefully, I know very well our Arsenal will sign all its realistic targets. Hopefully, man. Why can't we go for a striker and Rafael Leao of AC Milan, and why Arsenal can't do a swap deal with Zinchenko and add money to get Rafael Leao? That is a possibility because the AC Milan want Zinchenko. So let's see if that would be a possibility. Some others are not possibilities if that team doesn't want a player. Like I saw someone saying, let's give Zinchenko to Real Madrid for them to give us Rodrygo. If they don't want Zinchenko, they're not going to take Zinchenko. Martinelli and Trossard, who will stay, says Sambo. I think Trossard will definitely stay. I'm hoping Martinelli stays as well as a backup option. But if I was to say one person is going to leave there, it's probably going to be Martinelli because of money. If you're going to sell someone, you're potentially going to sell Martinelli for 50, 60 million, but Trossard, you're only going to sell him for like 20. So if it's money, I hope money is not the problem, and I'm hoping we're not having to sell players because of money. So we need a bench, so I don't want any of those players to leave anyway. Anthony says, I always follow this program. Thank you. We want to see good players next season. My brother says, come on. We all do, man. We all do. We don't want another Premier League season where we can't score against Everton at home. We can't score against West Ham at home. You can only score 1 goal against Ipswich at home. You know, we have to wait for the last 10 minutes to beat Southampton at home. We can only score a corner against Man United, a corner against Chelsea. We don't want that. We want to be a clinical team. We want to be a team that creates a lot of chances. We want to be a team that scores a lot of goals. We want to be a team that is flexible in the way we change players. We want a team that doesn't miss too many chances. And even if we miss, we want to be a team that is creating a lot of chances. We also want to be a team where the captain is performing well. That is Odegaard. We also want to be a team that doesn't pick up too many injuries, hopefully. I can keep going. We also want to be a team that doesn't get too many red cards that cost us too many games. We also want to be a team, most importantly, that wins trophies. Let me end it at that. Thank you for that, Kamara. I think there will be another video later on. I think there's a lot of news today. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.